So templates are just sort of a thing that exists in life in general in a variety of different disciplines that helps to improve workflow. Even in the workplace, you have forms and stuff that are just like a template on how you input invoices in your office, whatever it is, there's a template for that because humans like efficiency and templates are efficient. They just make sure that everything you need to complete a certain task is automatically already in one place for you to complete that task. Music production is the same. There are ways to put templates in place to make your workflow go quicker. Specifically, your DAW, whatever DAW you're using, will be able to create different types of templates for different things within the interface, whether that's a project template or a track template that then you can just load in the next time you want to do that task. Handy. Hi guys, it's Emma, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, then welcome to the chaos. I do all things music related on this channel, from putting up covers and show reels to show people what I'm like as a performing artist in case they want to book me, to my favourite kind of content, music production and songwriting styly content. Today's video is more of the production side of things, and it's going to be less of the creative stuff and more just the template building. Stuff that some people would probably view as boring, but that I am slowly becoming more and more obsessed with, and I love doing things like this, So in today's video, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a project template in Logic that I am going to use from now on for a particular task, the task being production. People will talk about using templates a lot when it comes to mixing, like people will talk about having set templates for different tracks, like if you have a lot of plugins that you tend to be your go-tos for when you're doing a lead vocal or a backing vocal, your drum plugins, you're going to have pretty much the same things being put on these tracks every time, so you're going to want to save templates for those tracks that you can just load in. And you'll want to be able to load in a stock project template as well to make the mixing process quicker, because chances are every single track that you are given to mix is going to have certain instruments on it, and you're going to have to mix them each time. And if you can load in an entire project that then also has the tracks with those presets on it as well, it makes the whole process a lot quicker. But I don't hear people talk about it as much when it comes to just the production and songwriting side of things. But I think having done this Inktober challenge that I've been doing recently, so for those of you who don't follow me, I have set myself a challenge this month. There is a challenge online called Inktober that artists do, artists who like draw, not music artists. I have for a couple of years now stolen the prompts to do little songwriting challenges myself, and this year I've set myself the challenge of actually doing a full produced, under a minute segment of a song for each of the prompts. That's a challenge I've been doing, and obviously that's a lot of creating in a short space of time. And when you're trying to pump stuff out at that sort of rate, which if you want to actually work doing production stuff in the music industry, you're probably going to find you are going to need that quick workflow to be able to just sit down and start tracking and creating stuff. You don't want to have to be doing what I have been doing of sitting down and doing the same steps every time I start a project, that if I had just built a template at the start, things would have been much quicker and easier for me in terms of the flow of the creation process for this. But yeah, so I've worked out that I take certain steps with the creation process each time, and that in those steps, I need certain tracks with certain settings on them, with certain plugins loaded every single time. So it makes sense to have a project template that I can just load in with all of those tracks already on it, so that I'm not wasting time loading in the track that I want and the plugin that I want. It's already there, I can just throw the idea down. It will make it so that I don't have that stop-startiness to a creation session. So yeah, that's what we're going to do in today's video, is we're going to build that track. Before we get started with that, I'm just going to go through in Logic some things about the project templates. If you want to fire up a new Logic project and you go to File, New from Template, then you get this little screen. If I go to My Templates, these are ones I have created. So you can pick from any of them. We're going to go with an empty project, obviously. We don't need to bother with any of the other stuff on that screen for today, but you can set in already your tempo, your key of your song, any other info that you need. You can put that in if you already know it. Okay, I'm just gonna click create an audio track first, because I'm gonna just show you how to actually just create one of these templates really quickly by just using a stock template that I really need to create that I haven't created yet. So we're going to create it now. That stock template is going to be my creating a guide track template. It's going to be good to have that as just a template for when I'm not creating a guide track and then immediately starting to work on that guide track, but when I'm creating something that I then might just bounce out the stems from and then put into another project at a later date. So my guide tracks tend to include a vocal, and then we need another audio track, and a guitar DI. I'm just going to call it guitar. And actually, you know what? I'm going to actually call these vocal guide, guitar guide. Now, my guitar guide has to be set to a different input to my vocal guide because I want to record on both of these tracks. And I usually put my guitar DI into input 2 on my audio interface. So that's all that's set now. So now every time I load up a project like that, those will be in with the correct inputs and I can just get started. I don't need to do anything else with these because I know that some people like to have on a vocal track in particular certain plugins loaded in when they're recording. I record vocals completely raw. So then to save this as a template, I literally just go to File, Save as Template. It's that simple. You create what you want to create in terms of tracks, then you hit File, Save as Template. And it will save it into your project templates over here. And I'm going to call this Guide Track Temp. No, it just needs to be called a guide track, doesn't it? So that's a new template done. Now I'm going to leave this up, and the reason before why I called these vocal guide and guitar guide is going to become clear. This step I've already done here is also the first step to creating my general creation project template that I want to create. So we're now going to continue adding to this to create this project creation template that I want. And these are my first tracks on that template because most of the time when I am writing and creating something, I tend to work guitar vocal first. I tend to sit down and come up with vocal melodies and some rough lyric ideas and come up with a chord progression on guitar. I then like to play that in because I like playing in the guitar chords rather than starting with MIDI chords all the time because guitar is my instrument over piano, so I'm more able to like play with the rhythm ideas as well in just a guide track that has a strummed guitar or a plucked guitar on it, which is going to give me more an idea for the track overall. So I do like to still start on guitar a lot. That's my most comfortable way to create. It's not the only way I create. Sometimes I might start from the drums or from a MIDI piece, from just chords played in on MIDI, but I'm pretty much always going to have a vocal guide because generally what I'll probably do is throw down some sort of chords and then sing a melody line over the top of that and then build around that. And I like to have it as separate tracks and not just stick a mic in the room because I could just stick one mic in the room, really simple, and just record myself singing and playing guitar in. Two problems with that are, one, I'm not going to get good clarity necessarily from both of them throughout, which isn't the end of the world, it's just a guide track, but also I like to have them separate because then when I come in to do other bits, quite often what I will do is I will record a drum part, a simple drum part, and I will come back and re-record guitar. And obviously I want the guitar muted when I do that. I don't want to be hearing out of time DI'd guitar that I just quickly threw down while I'm trying to play guitar in time. But I might want to hear the vocal part. Anywho, so that's our first two already on there. Done. Cool. Perfect. We're partway through already. Now what I'm going to do is basically put on every single type of track with all the plugins loaded on that I am likely to use in the songwriting bit of the production process, in the tracking down ideas process. I won't use every single one of these tracks that I put on here in every single project, but if I put a track on here and I just load in an instrument on it, this is how long it takes to load in a software instrument onto a track. It's going to take a little bit longer because things are slow because I'm running OBS at the same time. See? And now I've got that. If I want to get rid of a track that's already loaded in that I'm not actually going to end up using, the only thing I have to do to get rid of this track is hit the backspace button. Much quicker. So if something's already loaded that I am highly likely to use but don't use on everything, it's quick and easy to delete it. So as I said before, I sort of alluded to before, one of the next steps I usually take is I will load in some sort of drum. Now, I'll do one of two things. I might load in a software instrument drum, because I might have a beat in mind in my head already that I can hear, that relatively simple beat that I can just quickly program in. And my go-to at the moment when I want to throw in some drums are the beat makers by UJam. I love these beatmaker plugins. So we're going with Candy. I've only got 8 days before I have to pay for it, guys. Because I can load in Candy and then I can bring this up and I will play in something along to my guide track like that. You know, as this is one I know I use quite a bit, and I like the sounds of the drums on this, and I know they're going to give me the right vibe just to get that start on a track. Once I've played in my beat, I can go in and load any plugin I want onto that. There is still a beatmaker plugin that's going to fit the same MIDI pattern. However, there is an alternative to this that I will often do. The other plugin, well, not even plugin, the other type of track I tend to use a lot is the Logic drummer track. So I'm also going to load a drummer track on here. I tend to use a drummer track when I don't have a clear idea in mind for exactly what the beat is going to do. So if I don't have a bass drum pattern in particular in my head, I know the vibe I want, I can load in a drummer that I know does that kind of vibe and cycle through the different options on here and make changes until I get something that sounds close enough to the kind of beat I want. It doesn't have to be perfect, because then I can change this to MIDI. Where is it? Convert, there it is. I can go in and I can convert this to a MIDI region. Boom, just like that. So I change that to the MIDI, and then I go in and I edit the MIDI, or, you know, I do the same thing of it, you know, then separate by note pitch, pick out the bits I like, move them around. I have the programmed in rough rhythm of the MIDI that I need to then swap that out and take a sample off Splice and stick that in my sampler and just have that as my bass drum instead. You can make any of these changes later, but like I said, it's best if I have both of these, because then when I come in and I know which type of track I'm creating, I just delete the one I don't need. I then will generally do one of three things, and these three things are things that generally, at some point, I do on every single project. It just varies what order I do them in. I will either go straight to adding bass, if I have a clear bass lick in mind, or I'm doing really, really simple bass part and I don't think it's going to need anything more than that. I will add MIDI chords, and I will usually add my MIDI chords with just a stock Logic piano sound. It's actually also really handy if not just doing chords, like if I want to add in little melody parts. I pretty much always end up loading a Logic piano on at some point to play stuff in, and then I go through and I find the sound I actually want that to be later. Obviously, if I already have a sound in my head that is really crucial to this part, I'm going to go through and just find that sound to create this part. I want a sound that doesn't sound terrible, that isn't going to distract me. You know, I don't want to lay down chords with a bass preset on or something where I play in a little melody, like it's not going to sound objectively wrong. And piano is kind of like, it's like the preset instrument in my head. Piano is the preset instrument. Or the third thing that I might do, and probably the most common one, I either put in the bass first or I do this, is I will re-record the guitar. Because obviously I've just got a guitar part here that I just quickly threw down that may or may not be in time, but also a part that's recorded with more mics and stuff like that. Just a nicer recorded guitar part is what's going to go on the thing, and if I already have a guitar part in mind, I'm going to lay that down pretty early on. And if I do that, then if you have not seen this video already, you might want to go and watch this video because it could be interesting to you if you like this kind of thing. I actually did a video recently where I was messing about with figuring out different ways that you can mic up a guitar and do inputs and stuff, and figuring out which way I would like to record my specific guitar in my specific setup, in my specific room, my specific microphones that I use. And I came up with a couple of go-to ways that I liked best for recording my guitar that I am likely to use every single time I record guitar. So that mic setup involves 2 microphones and a direct input from my guitar, which means every time I record guitar, I need 3 tracks on 3 separate inputs. So if I know I'm going to record guitar every single time, then I'm going to need, I'm just going to go Command D to get rid of these, 3 audio tracks. And those 3 audio tracks, the first one wants to be with input 1. The second one, because I like to put my 2 mics together, wants to go to input 3. And the third one is going to be input 2, because that's generally where I plug in my guitar. That's just the way I do it on my interface. And I'm also just going to label these. So acoustic guitar, and generally input 1 will be around the sound hole. Input 3, the second mic, same again, acoustic guitar, but this one I tend to put near the body. That, or I might put it in as a room mic, but I do this more so I can always relabel that room. And the last one, acoustic guitar DI. I forget to do stuff like this as well, but despite the fact that my brain works really well with spotting an image is a lot easier than spotting a word, so that's the most recognizable acoustic guitar. So we're gonna make you guys all look like guitars. What were the other ones we had? I didn't change any of them on them. I should change this to a drum so I know it's a drum. Anyway, we've got that on. Then the other thing I said I would do is bass, so we need a bass track. I want a new software instrument for a bass track. The bass that I go to the most is the muted bass from the stock Logic Pro plugins. Oh, see, it's given me a little bass automatically with that one. Why didn't it do that with the well, that's because not a Logic stock one, is it? That's probably why. Because this bass, it's nice and just, oh, it's a bass. Every now and then, when I'm tracking, I won't put that bass, you know, I might throw on one of the other, usually it'll be one of the Logic stock ones. Sometimes I'll go in and I'll put a synth bass on instead. So I'm going to put that one on, just because that is what I default to. And then the other one we said was piano, wasn't it? Now my go-to piano, the Borsendorfer Grand, Borsendorfer Grand Piano. I think that's how that's pronounced. I'm not sure. I just like how that one sounds. It's unobjectionable, in my opinion. It just sounds like a piano to me. Obviously, I would not necessarily use all these Logic stock plugins as my final instrument. Sometimes I will. I think the muted bass, actually, sometimes if you just make some tweaks using EQ and adding like other stuff in it, it can sound quite nice. I suppose the only other thing I should add, because at some point on every single project, I will re-record the vocal. So at some point, there will be actually a proper lead vocal laid down. But that's just an audio track with input on one. Let's give it a little thing so it matches the others. What am I looking for? None of those say vocal to me. I'm going to go with this one because I did have a little Rode NT1A that I used for everything. I think that's probably meant to be a Neumann, actually, isn't it? I don't know. It looks like a Rode, but it also looks like a Neumann. It could be either. Neumann, sorry. I'm losing the ability to speak. But yeah, I will throw a vocal on, so we should pop that on here as well. But that is everything I think I would need for a stock project template. So I can open up a new project with this template every single time, and that has everything on it that I need to start creating. We need to go in and we need to now save this. Save as template. And we are going to call this, what are we going to call it? What do you call this template? Start here template. I use the word go to a lot. So I think go to project template is what I'm going to call it. Writing template. That's what it is, isn't it? That's my go-to writing template. Yeah, that's how you create a Logic project template, in case you did not know how to do that. Was that Logic project template. That was satisfying to say. Distracted again. That's how you create a Logic project template, in case you didn't know how to do that. There's a little skill I can pass on. I can't pass on many, but I can pass on some simple things every now and then. And they are very handy. And if you, like me, do a lot of just sitting down and trying to produce stuff, and you find that when you're doing that, you get stopped and started a lot by the fact that you've got to load in stuff. Think about the things that you could load in just to start laying stuff down. Whatever your starting point is, and then the steps that you tend to take to build the track. Not the final version of the track, not the mixing of the track, but the building of the track. Throw them into a stock project so that then you can just open this up, and then you can just sit there and go, right, what am I making today? And then as you're going through and you're like, right, I'm making this kind of thing, so I don't need a drummer track today because I'm not going to use that drummer track. I'm going to put a beat on. And actually this hasn't got guitar on it, so I can delete all of these. So now it's streamlined down, and then I just add in the other ones that I know I'm going to use. You know, I can just duplicate this over and over, and every time I want to add a new MIDI part, it's there, preset in for me, and I can just duplicate it and throw another one down, duplicate it, throw another one down, and then change the sounds when I'm ready. All easy, simple. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more content like this, then please do hit that subscribe button below. But I know that hitting the subscribe button is a big decision, and you can't undo it once you've done it because it's just so rude to unsubscribe. It makes me cry. I'm not gonna lie, I don't even notice until I'm randomly looking one day. It's like, didn't I have more yesterday? So if you're struggling with that decision, then there should be some helpful recommended videos on the end screen. And obviously there are videos around to the side somewhere. I always forget which side, but there are videos off to the side that you can go and check out. Don't know why I said that like that. And if you like what I do here, then welcome. Comment below if you have a similar project, what goes on yours. Because this is also like an insight into what someone's process is, isn't it? What's your process? What would be your go-to tracks? And if you enjoy what I do here and you want to support me in general, then you can follow all of my other social media in the description below. Also, I have a Buy Me a Coffee account, and I was a bit neglectful of it a couple of weeks ago because I've been a bit busy with the Inktober challenge I'm doing, and then going on a songwriting retreat, and everything just got a bit wah. But I have recently spammed a load of content on there around my Inktober stuff. If you want to see some behind the scenesy little, here's a first draft, didn't this sound awful before I changed it kind of posts, all that fun content. Okay, I think that is everything. I shall see you guys next week with another similar style of video. Have a lovely week, guys.
I waste too much